All
All
right.
right. Good thing you noticed.
Yeah. Too funny. Okay, so we're going
All
live
right.
now.
That just remember that doesn't mean you can go 10 extra minutes long
No.
on this
So
broadcast.
we're streaming now. We're just 10 minutes behind. Let me know if you see me on your Facebook feed,
Okay.
and maybe we'll have some people joining us early.
All right.
Wouldn't that be nice? Katie
That would be
Corey has
nice.
joined. Hi, Katie. Welcome. Excellent.
I haven't seen it yet, so I'm still waiting to see you.
Yeah. So Katie just sent me a comment.
So
and I
she's
see
seeing it?
Yes, she could see me, which is great. You
Huh.
can't. Interesting.
Not yet.
Oh, here I am. Excellent. I can see me. Well, that's a relief.
Oh, no. All right. I can see it.
So we'll kick this off right at 7. So
All right. That sounds good.
great. So you can see me.
Mm-hmm. I can now.
Good. Good. Don't make me laugh tonight.
Right.
Okay. Trying to see if how many people have joined us so far, Nance.
Oh, I'm seeing 5 people are on, so please say hi.
Yeah. Yeah, please say hi if you've joined. I haven't officially kicked off the conversation tonight, but we will do that in a moment. We'll just wait for a few more people to tie in. I know that you had a lag in the feed, Nancy, so I'm wondering if this is reaching everyone's computers and tablets and whatnot.
Yeah, I think there is a lag. I mean, I'm hearing you before I see your mouth moving. So Paula's here.
Hey, Paula.
Terry's here. Hello, Paula. Hello, Terry.
Hi, guys. Welcome. Great to have you here. I'm going to be quoting Terry later. Nancy, she had a great comment in our Phase 2 group today.
Oh, good. Looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
Yeah.
We've got people coming on.
Oh, great. Okay. Excellent.
We've got Sue, and we've got Aaron, and Jen Collins, and
Great. Great.
one of our coaches.
So your audio is doing a little bit of that fuzziness, but it's not terrible. I can hear you pretty
All right.
good.
As long as you can understand me, that's probably the important part.
Right. Okay, so Sue, Aaron, hello everyone. I think that we have an obligation to start on time, so let's get it started here. Thanks for joining, and I'll be welcoming people as we go along here. Of course, in these times, the first thing I have to say is I hope that you and your family are safe and sound. We are joined tonight by Nancy Adamczyk, who it was my goal to get you on the feed last week, Nancy, but well, I wish I could blame technical difficulties, but the reality was I talked too much. So
That's true.
so I have Nancy Adamczyk here. I'm thrilled to have her joining me. Nancy is my longtime friend and colleague, more than 30 years working with her at HMR. She has the unique distinction of being the coach to all the other coaches. If you want to get a behavior to change, or if you want to get on a roll with something, then all you need to do is ask Nancy, and she won't let you forget it. So you better be careful what you say.
I am dogged. That's true.
That's right. That's right.
Rick, it's great to be here after, I've watched you do these for so long and have loved it, and it's just exciting to be on with you tonight. I'm very happy about it.
That's great. That's great. And I'll also just say, for those of you who don't know Nancy, Nancy and I work together very closely every day, many hours every day. So if she's finishing my sentences or vice versa, you know why. We are in each other's hip pockets, so to speak. All right, let's get into it here. A couple of quick points. Nancy, make sure I repeat these a few times as we go along here. I know there were a
Okay.
number of reports that the feed had the stream had paused. Uh, it happens, and it happened almost randomly. It seemed it wasn't like it happened all at once to everybody. So it might be a function of your own personal Wi-Fi connection. But be patient; it comes back up, and we apologize in advance for that. Another point that I would make: our whole goal in providing these live events during these troubling times that we're in is simply to give you more support and to give you a chance to connect in a more consistent way with the HMR community. So we love that you're here, and we're going to ask you to be here every week as much as your schedule allows. But I would say that if you are involved in coaching, whether on the phone, in our phone program, or if you regularly attend a clinic program, please don't look at this as your attendance commitment. Look at this as really an adjunct to whatever accountability your regular coach and that team has put in place for you. And we really appreciate that. The next thing I would say is really participate here. Boy, were we blown away last week, weren't we, Nancy?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was incredible.
It was just awesome. We heard so many good things about that event, and it was not what I did. It was what you, the audience, did. We actually had more than 4 times the level of engagement of the average number of comments and engagement that we typically have with our Facebook Lives. So let's see if we can exceed that. So post any thoughts that come up. We're going to ask some very explicit questions. Share your experience. Be with the community. The more we can have all of you who are watching chiming in and participating, the richer and more valuable the time that we spend here will be. Okay, let's get into it. We have. Oh, there you are, Nancy. Sorry, I didn't put your face up. There's Nancy.
Oh, that's okay.
And there's me.
That doesn't. Just so you know, Rick, we've got people coming from all over the country in here, so
Oh.
lots of people joining.
Great, love it. Feel free to chime in and say hi to people as they're going along here, Nance. Lori, I see Rosemary, Missy, excellent. Oh, Lisa, great. Glad to have our
I
fellow
love
health
this Lori
coaches.
back for week 2.
Yeah, Lori was here last week. Excellent. Sandy, hey Sand, awesome. Going to talk about you later towards the end.
California,
Nance,
all over.
I did want to say one thing, since your picture is up right now. Because all you hear is Nancy's voice, it's sort of a disembodied voice. We had a vote on staff about should I be showing Nancy in all of our slides. For example, here's my next slide, and there's Nancy. And Nancy did not want this to happen, but we insisted, and we just thought it was centering, Nance, to have your picture up there. So you're just going to have to tolerate it. Sorry about that.
I am definitely going to have to tolerate it.
All right, here's our agenda. We're going to do 3 things during our time here. And again, jump in, participate with us. We'll start on the positive. Now, hopefully you saw it right in the post. We've done this several times. We presented some thought starters, giving you sort of a preview of where we wanted the conversation to go here during this time that we have. So we're going to start with the positive. We want you to share some successes from this past week, especially in these times. You can't overlook how important it is if you're engaging in some successful, active problem solving. We want to hear it. We also want to, this was informed very much from last week, a number of people said they were struggling with their physical activity. We want to troubleshoot physical activity challenges. So on one hand, if you're not where you want to be with your exercise, start thinking now about what gets in the way, and please share that when that time comes. And for the rest of you, jump into the coaching chair with Nancy and I. We want to have collective problem solving, use the whole community's brain trust here to help people come up with some solutions to problems. And then finally, we're going to discuss the most tempting foods. We're going to look at what you think are the most tempting foods for you. Nancy and I will talk about it, and then we're going to share some fascinating research in that area. So that's it. I'll keep putting this up just to keep us oriented as we go along here. So I say we jump right into the first one, Nancy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, let's go.
Yeah. So what is one successful thing that you did for your weight this past week that required problem solving? Now think about this for a minute. Turn it around in your mind. Maybe it's obvious, but maybe you might have to think about what was something that really had you pushing outside your comfort zone, but you did it. And you did it because your weight and your health is important to you. So take a moment and give us an example. Pick one thing and share it. I'd like to get a lot of people here. And as you
Yeah,
are,
really.
yeah, Nancy, go ahead.
No, I was just saying we really would like to hear from a lot of people. I mean, you're dealing with a topsy turvy world right now, so clearly your routines are gone. Some of them. So what did you problem solve to accomplish this week in the face of all of these, your new world or your new reality right now?
Absolutely. I mean, even if it's something you had been doing, something that maybe was part of a routine, if you had to push yourself to problem solve it, that is against a whole lot of other requests that you're dealing with, a lot of change, as Nancy say, other problems that you're trying to solve that have nothing to do with your weight or making healthy lifestyle choices or moving your body. So it's important that we identify these things. First, on one hand, it's reinforcing. It's another hit of reinforcement for you to share, hey, here's what I'm doing. It just is sending a message to yourself that this is important to you. But then there's a whole nother value prop to this, which is that others who are listening and watching, they get more ideas for things that they can bring into their week, this next week. So there's really two reasons why we wanted to spend a little time on this.
All right, Rick,
yeah,
we're getting answers here. So, Lisa, Beachbody DVDs at home. I love it. That makes me very happy, Lisa.
Yeah, that's
Jennifer
great.
Collins getting NPA every day. Beth Hoffman. I walked 2 miles every morning before working from home. Oh, that would be easy to fall out. Trying to make some healthy choices when it comes to food since I'm running low on HMR meals. Ooh, yes, some of the orders are delayed, but I'm glad you're working on some other options that are healthy in the meantime.
Right.
Shane, use the available vegetables instead of normal choices. So
Yeah.
really trying to be, Shane, it'd be interesting to hear what you had to use instead. Like, what are some of the ideas or vegetables you were using?
Yep. Quick shout out to my main man, Shane. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Love that you're here. Look out in the future for some additional episodes with Shane and myself having conversations on various topics. But yeah, I thought the same thing, Nancy. Shane, what was it obviously wasn't your favorite veggie. So what was it, and what did you do to make it more palatable? Would love to hear that.
Oh, here's one. Dana, stopped at store on my way home from 14 hours at the hospital. Dana, just want to thank you for your service. You are a hero. Filled my cart with veggies and fruits. So easy choices. Just really after 14 hours when you probably just wanted to go home and fall apart.
Absolutely. Nancy,
really
let me read one from Paula. I so relate to this one. Boy, we like what we like, right? So Paula, production of her the normal healthy life bread, only 35 calories per ounce. I love that. Was suspended. Had to adapt to having lean protein lunch sandwiches on higher calorie wheat wraps instead. Not a huge, big increase in the calories, but I get it. We like what we like, and when things aren't available, it can really sort of throw us off. Way to stay in there and still make these successful choices, Paula. That's so awesome. What else you got, Nance?
I like Andrea, too. She got back on track after falling off, and that's really one of our whole points here is not giving up and continuing to problem solve. I got back by trying a new sauce to change up the way meals taste. Again, Andrea, feel free to share what the sauce was that you did.
Yeah. I like that whole idea of getting back on track, Nancy. I think, sometimes people will look at a coaching session or our classes. You could even look at these live events the same way. Well, I want to go there and I want to get new ideas and maybe I want to connect with the community. But if you didn't have a good week, there's something else that happens when you show up here. This is a very concrete way for you to say, I'm wiping the slate clean. I'm putting last week behind me if it didn't go well, and I've got a new week to create and to plan and problem solve how I can have a better week. I think that's an undervalued aspect of the weekly conversation, Nance.
That's key. I mean, there's no more important.
Yep.
Everyone's going to have some tough times, but if you can, stay on, get back on your horse, if you will, and problem solve and try to get back on track. That's the most important thing.
Yep.
Important thing.
Here's one from Terry, Nancy. I'm walking more outside since I'm working from home and not getting in, again, the normal routine, the exercise that you count on, the steps at work, not available. How many times, Terry, I'm curious, are you doing it in all one bout of exercise outside? Or are you breaking it up? Are you looking for opportunities to get out there a few different times, maybe some short walks. Those are another
let
undervalued
us know.
strategy.
Hey, in the meantime, Shane, red cabbage. That's a very healthy, low-calorie food. So
Healthy.
That's really healthy.
Yes, I love it. I love it. No,
Cruciferous, we love it.
Yes, but let's remember, he said not his first choice, but he ate it anyway.
Right.
So kudos, love it, really good.
And Shane, would you eat it again? Sometimes this kind of forces us to try something new that we wouldn't have normally tried, and we end up, you may not like everything, but you might find something you like. I like Missy too is on decision free, not easy, and your husband's not. So she shopped online for the first time, which makes sense. It's easier to avoid temptation shopping online than when you have to go through the aisles of the grocery store.
Right.
I love that.
Nance, you see Jen Barker's comment here? Great job, Jen. I struggled with indoor PA last week on this call. Someone mentioned yoga. They just mentioned it. Yoga with Adrienne. It seems to always be yoga with Adrienne, doesn't it?
Yeah, she's really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I gave it a shot. Love it. Looking to incorporate it more.
Fabulous.
That's just fantastic.
Oh, I love it. Sometimes you discover things you never would have. See, there's some, silver lining. I probably shouldn't say that, but silver lining here, which is going to be a theme. Andrea just shared her new sauce, Primal Kitchen Steak Sauce, sugar-free. Sounds interesting.
Yeah. So let me make that point I made earlier again. So I love it that you guys are offering these successful strategies. And again, it's important to share these. It's be so easy to not do successful things given the environment that we're in. But also, as you're hearing ideas from other people, this is an opportunity to potentially do what Jen just mentioned. Hey, maybe that's something I could just try. And what do we say, Nance, in the program? You try 5 or 6 things, and let's say you don't like 5 of them, but you hit on 1. It's worth having tried all 6. That's how you build a wider, more versatile set of skills. You got to have a beginner's mind on this and try everything. So as we go here, I would encourage you to write down anything that's even a possibility of something that might be useful or that you'd be willing to at least sample, and you will hit on some. You will hit on some new things. We've already seen 2 or 3 here, Nance, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, excellent.
Let me get a couple more in here, and then we probably should keep them coming in, but maybe we want to shift gears. But
Shane liked that, Marlo, by the way. It was delicious. See?
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Risotto. Oh, yeah, I can see where that would be really good. I've had cabbage with the risotto. It's really good.
Awesome. Tremendous. All right. You know what? I want to, maybe as part of sort of summarizing this, Nancy, last week, if you were here, you remember someone that I work with on his way, Chris, had sent a very empowering quote that we shared during the episode. But before I got a chance to share it, it's a very uplifting perspective. Many of you had actually already introduced this perspective. It's sort of a mindset that was somewhat unexpected, but we heard it a lot last week. And in the meantime, in talking to all of my fellow health coaches, Nancy and I have heard it time and time again. People in all of our classes, weight loss and phase 2, are sharing a similar mindset. And it goes something like this. Tell me if this resonates with you. There are so many things going on right now that we can't control out there. But this, your health habits, your work on your weight, your work on your weight management is something that you can control. Now, don't want to paint with too broad a brush. Maybe there are some things you can't control, but there's usually more that you can control than most people would think. Again, it's so easy to throw the baby out with the bathwater when times get tough. But if nothing else, Nancy, this is an example of people being tough in the tough times. Really excellent. Mm-hmm. We just love seeing that mindset and want to continue to foster that idea. This is something that you can sort of seize the reins on, despite how much uncertainty there is out there with the COVID-19 virus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I promised I would quote Terry, and then we'll move on here, Nancy. In my phase 2 class today,
Rick, I'm sorry, I've got to interrupt you.
Yeah, go ahead.
1 minute. Sherry just entered something that I think is really worth acknowledging.
Please.
I've been having a hard time staying in the box lately, and the other evening, as I was reading news about the virus, I could feel myself getting more and more anxious with the food calling louder and louder. We can all relate to that. But I reminded myself what my coach always says, to respond rather than react. So I ate an apple and went to sleep.
That is
so grabbing something to eat, and that's just
it's great.
Excellent, Sherry. I'm sure that when you woke up in the morning, you had a good feeling.
Yeah, there's a huge difference there. Reacting in the moment, often mindlessly, it's just sort of an emotional knee-jerk reaction. We all do it all the time, but there are consequences when you do it with food. But pause for just one moment, and then respond, as you say. That's such wise advice. Responding versus reacting. That's a world of difference. Really, really cool. I'll summarize this with Terry's quote. Terry, who's a colleague who's in the Phase 2 group that I participate in. I'm not the coach. I'm a participant, as many of you are, in a Phase 2 class. She shared that her son is a Marine. And during these tough times, talk about the tough getting going, a quote that the Marines have that they are saying all the time in their house: improvise, adapt, and overcome. And I just really liked that. That just speaks to a resilience that we tend to think the Marines embody. But we have to be tough too during these times, because it may not be any tougher than it is right now. So I think a lot of the comments here are in line with people just rising to the occasion and meeting the challenge. So congratulations to everyone on that. Really cool. Thank you, Terry. I know you're listening. Told you I'd use that quote. All right, so we let's look here, Nance. We've just spent some time reviewing successes. It's important to do that so that you get an additional hit of reinforcement by publicly sharing that here in this forum. But the second point is others get to hear a variety of successful strategies. And if any of those sounded like something you should try, again, please write it down, document it. Don't try to just keep it in your head. Let's see if you can leave this conversation better armed to handle this next week with some of these strategies that you're hearing.
And I am seeing some people just being honest with the idea that they're struggling. So you're in a perfect place. So let's see if by the end of this call you feel like you've got something to do that's going to support you for this coming week. So hang in there. Yeah,
Nancy, I did say during the call today when I asked Terry if we could use that quote, she said, and you have to follow it with the Marine cheer, booyah. And I said, well, I probably won't do that, but I probably will make Nancy do that on the call. So if you wouldn't mind, just because I said I would. Thank you. Okay, very good. All right. Transitioning into part 2 here. Now, we had again presented a couple of different times this week some thought starters for you. Struggling to get in PA right now, be prepared to share what you're struggling with so that the HMR community can support you. So, the first question is, are you happy with where your physical activity is? And if not, what's getting in your way? Not everyone's going to be able to answer that question, but if that's relevant to you, take a moment right now. Give us some more information about what the challenge is, and then Nancy and I would like to elicit the expertise of our whole community here. Again, asking all of you to step in the coach's chair with us and come up with some strategies. And then we'll pick one, Nance, right, and go back and see if any of those landed as being helpful. So who's the brave soul or two out there who can tell us, I'm not happy with where my physical activity is. I want to increase it. I'm struggling, and here's why I'm struggling. So I'm going to give it just a second here. See if we get any particular challenges that we can put under the lens of problem solving and creating a solution for them.
You know, it's interesting. Meanwhile, some people are starting to talk about something we will talk after this, which is struggling with, things in the house that are tempting. So hang in there, guys, because we are going to get to that after we talk about the physical activity.
Yep. And there's Kirsten throwing her husband under the bus. He just made chocolate chip cookies, LOL. Get him on this feed. Will you, Kirsten? Get him. I want to talk to him right now.
That's right.
Nancy,
let us yell at him for you.
Here's one. I feel so tired. I think that's a really good one. So, Laurie, thank you for sharing that. So put it out there, guys. Here's the problem. I want to do exercise. I want to do more, but I just feel tired. I mean, you might be physically tired, or it could be just
emotionally
yeah.
too.
I mean, honestly, don't you kind of feel like this your brain is kind of always going, Nancy, with the events you put on the news? It's a whole new set of problems that you hear. The numbers keep going up. So whether it's an emotional weariness or being physically tired, let's turn it over to the group here. What if,
Right.
it can be a strategy that might help to get past that, or it could be an insight. It could be a perspective as well. Both of those tend to move the ball in the right direction. So let's. I'm asking the community here. What someone's feeling tired, wants to increase their exercise, but just is feeling tired. What would you say about that?
Yep. Tired or just not motivated, either
Yep.
way.
Thank you,
Let's-
Andrea.
Let's solve that one first, and then we'll. I think time's probably the other issue we see coming up. So.
Yep. I'm going to start this off because we've seen it through the years, Nancy. There's two big mistakes people make, right?
Mhm.
And the first one, the biggest mistake people make around exercise is they have this ideal of how much they should be doing. I've got to do a 30-minute walk, or I've got to at least get out there for 2 miles. You've just made a mistake. People discount the value of short bouts of exercise. 5 minutes, 3 minutes. These matter, and they all add up. And practically, Nancy, you always make this point, there are so many 3 and 5 minute opportunities in the day, as opposed to the 30 or the 45-minute opportunity. So if you're feeling tired, whether, again, emotionally or physically, how do people feel after they do a little exercise?
Yeah, that was going to be my point.
Yeah, what else did you say about that?
All my life, and everybody feels the same way. I've always discovered that if I do a bout of exercise, I'm never more tired when I get done. I'm either as tired or I have more energy, but I'm never more tired. So if knowing that ahead of time may be enough to get started. And as you said, Rick, if you get 5 minutes in and that's what you do, you're no longer getting nothing in, and that's so important.
And I'd be willing to bet there's a better chance that you're going to actually be less tired. I think it's, for me personally, it's rare when I still feel tired. It tends to boost the energy. And research, the published research is coming in droves on this. We've talked about this last week, right, Nance? When you move your body, you literally change your brain chemistry, and it doesn't take that much to do it. We have one study that we share with people in the program. As little as 10 minutes of exercise was enough to conclusively improve mood across several different areas of affect. 10 minutes. So whether you're doing 10 or not, I'm willing to bet if you did 5 minutes, you might actually notice a difference. And then we won't take the time, but if we were to ask our community here, do you feel better after you exercise? I'm willing to bet 100% of people would say yes to that, Nance.
Can we add in the story that I think this would be a great place to add in the post that we saw today.
Oh, I'd love that.
And then we can get in, and then we can, the time management we can deal with a little bit as well, but
sure.
This is just a great example of it, I think.
Yeah. So this was a post that Kelly had presented. Do you want to go through it, or do you want me to read it, Nance? Your call.
Yeah, I can read it. So
you brought it up to me, so go ahead.
Yeah, I loved it. So Kelly takes a selfie with herself with her treadmill, and the post was, she was having a hard time stepping back on my treadmill. Motivation. She's talking to herself. Turn on the movie, Brittany runs a marathon while you run. Broke it up, hard at lunch, the rest after dinner, got 2 sprints in, woohoo.
Fantastic.
And then somebody responded, I'm going to try that movie right now, thanks. I have a bike and elliptical just sitting here. Again, we can, and then Kelly said, thank you. I was really struggling and full of excuses. I'm feeling more positive now. So that's just another example of sometimes getting started, finding something that will get you on for a couple of minutes is all it takes. Someone else, I noticed, where was it? Lynn said, I was struggling, but now I've been doing some really good videos. Leslie Sansone, she was awesome. She has awesome walking videos that I can do in the basement. I do it first thing in the morning after coffee. So it's just like finding that right little bit of something
Yeah.
that gets you going. So
Yeah.
hopefully there's some ideas here.
I would just say one quickie. So Laurie started this off with, I feel so tired about the exercise.
Mm-hmm.
This right here is a perfect example of somehow people sometimes get something backwards. People will look to be motivated so that they can then do the behaviors. Well, that's fine if you can be motivated, but we've already just had someone else just said, I'm not motivated. It's the opposite. You have to engage in the behaviors and the motivation follows, and it can happen during it. So there's that initial moment of getting past that inertia of whatever negative feelings you're dealing with. You put the nose to the grindstone and you get the walking going, one foot in front of the other, and that's a consistent, systematic way to be motivated. You literally create the motivation, or as we like to say sometimes, Nancy, momentum. You actually start to create a mental momentum around your behaviors. Yes. But that's a really important point, and I always think of that myself. Nancy, you have it, I have it. There are times you don't want to get on the treadmill or the elliptical or go do the walk. I just stop the thought process, and I know if I just start moving, I'm going to start to feel more motivated, because it's the behaviors first and then the motivation follows. People often get that wrong.
I think it's something that, if you can trust us on this, if it's not something you've experienced, if you do it a few times, you will discover that it is the case. And also, don't be hard on yourself if you only do the 5 minutes.
Right.
Again, 5 minutes is something. Jen says here, summarize, I tell myself I only have to walk 5 minutes. Sometimes it's 5. Sometimes I start, it's not so bad, and turns into 20. So, and there's a lot of others. So keep reading. There's a lot of ideas here. I don't think we have time to read them all, but for those of you who are struggling, there's some great ideas here.
Yeah, a couple of nice sound bites about motivation here too. I appreciate that. I like one of our colleagues just sort of bottom lined it here. Motivation follows action. So the action comes first. And you actually can get into a habit of that thought stopping and just getting in action even when you don't want to. It becomes less foreign. You actually become more comfortable with the discomfort of not wanting to do it but doing it anyway. If you never do it, you'll never get comfortable with it. But
you'll never discover that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Jen says, crazy thing, when I started doing more PA, I found I had more energy. So, it's counterintuitive at times, but I feel as though I can confidently tell you that if you're really tired and you do some exercise, you won't be more tired. You'll either be at the same, but chances are you'll actually feel better.
Great. So, lots of different ways to burn the calories. We've talked about outside exercise. Last week, Nance, we talked about inside exercise, even if you don't have a machine. Just how many minutes are you on a cell phone talking to people? Just pace. And again, not only does short bouts matter, very low intensity matters. There's a difference between pacing very slowly and sitting on a couch. There's a huge difference. In fact, as we know, Nance, there's a whole body of research now on just standing is so much healthier for you that taking standing breaks than prolonged sitting. So even if you're just walking at a very moderate pace in the house, it counts. Extending about, if you're already in action, there's a built-in efficiency there. This is sort of extending this out to everyone in the community. I find this is one I have to revisit myself, Nance, a lot, where you got to get locked into, I'm going to do my 40-minute workout or whatever it is.
Right.
What would it take to add 5 minutes? You're already suited up. You're already doing the activity. You're either at the gym or you're on the machine or you're already outside. So that might be a takeaway here. I'm trying to extend it out to maybe people beyond those who are feeling tired or not motivated, Nancy. Is that a potential practical takeaway here? Extending a bout of exercise. And at the end, we're going to ask a question, aren't we, Nance? Yeah, we're going to ask, what are you willing to commit to that's outside your comfort zone as a function of having participated in this live conversation? Okay, so bottom line it, move your body, move it often, and track it. Your body will thank you. Your brain will love you for it. But I do think, Nancy, in the spirit of being sensitive, that we have to be aware of that those around us may have a limit as to how much PA they're willing to tolerate, as much as we all listening to this might push ourselves. And I think that this meme here sort of says it all. We just got a good laugh out of this one, didn't we? The dog is on the porch. That's the 6th walk today. WTF is a Corona. A lot of great memes going on out there. You're all seeing
people
them.
are bringing humor.
Yeah, you gotta laugh. That's one of the great things that we as humans do. We sort of see the lighter side of even tough situations. Okay, so let me recap what we've covered here. We started with the positive. It's important to review successes, not just accept them as, well, I did it and that's that. It's noteworthy, particularly in these times, that you are continuing to place a priority on your weight and health management, your healthy habits. We just talked about troubleshooting physical activity. Perhaps there were some useful things to pull out of that to bring into this next week. Let's now switch into our third and final chapter here, Nancy, where we're going to discuss the most tempting foods. And it sounds like people have already been talking about these on the feed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So last week I had asked a question. What tempting 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s have crept into your home? 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s being the highest calorie and most popular foods in America. We got so many great responses, didn't we? Honest responses last week.
Totally out there. I loved it.
Yeah, it was really great. In fact, I confessed to the group here that I was struggling with the deadly sugar-frosted, raspberry jam-filled mini Linzer cookies. I got a lot of coaching from the community on that, Nance. Some was very supportive. Some was very direct, I might add. Four and five exclamation points around some of the things that people were advising me to do. So anyway, I really appreciate that coaching, and I think that I'll leave it at that, and we can move on to the next part of this.
Rick, no.
No, I think we can move on to
Rick.
What?
Rick.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes, Nance.
No. So one of the things I committed to on the feed, and I followed up with you later, is I wanted to know what your plans were related to the cookies, and you promised me that you were going to get rid of them. So now I want you to tell everyone if you did, and if so, what you did.
Yes.
And I hope you're going to tell us you did get rid of them.
Like I said, Nancy is the coach to the coaches. You better be careful what you say you want to do. If you say, gee, my fruits and veggies are a little low this week, and Nancy hears it, you're going to regret saying that, because you're going to leave the next conversation with her with a blast plan to eat 10 servings on a day. I have a good update for you, Nancy, and for
good.
all of you out there. I took those cookies in all of their glory, and I went right after the event last week. I went to my parents' house and I brought them there. They can drink them with tea or coffee and enjoy them. My parents are both 93 years of age. They've earned the cookies. And Nancy, I did not have one. I didn't have one parting cookie. I didn't have one parting bite. I didn't fall into the, it's just one. Oh, well, I'm throwing them out. So this is, I'm patting myself on the back. So yeah, the cookies are gone. And I shudder to think how many calories I saved myself by doing that, by getting rid of them, honestly. I was getting into
it. It was
the
worth
cookies.
it, wasn't it?
It really was. I mean, it's not that I'm not going to ever eat those cookies. I mean, we like to enjoy our treats, right? Not if you're in phase one. But I like to do it on my terms.
Exactly.
We've talked about this a lot, Nance. If I'm going to do them, I don't want to just be eating them just because they're there. I want to eat them when I've decided to eat them, as opposed to regretting that I'm eating them and I can't stop. So that was a very good next step I took out of last week's event. And I have to say, the power of accountability. There wasn't a chance that I was going to not get rid of those cookies after I had confessed to everyone and sort of made it a public thing. And it's kind of the magic of the program. People take on being more accountable than they might on their own. So thank you for that, everyone.
That's what we're going to do tonight.
Yeah, we are going to do that. So foods like that, whether it's the Linzer cookies or whatnot, they are so challenging. I'd like to just revisit what many of us at HMR think is the best teaching tool that we have, the HMR Calorie Guide. I know that most of you listening are very, very familiar with the Calorie Guide, but basically just 3 quick points if you're not familiar with this. And we made it available to you in the comments section. I know at least earlier in the week. I don't know, Katie, if you're posting it tonight, but we've taken all foods out there, and we've divided them in food categories. Those are the rows. We've given them a calorie ranking from 1 to 10. The higher the ranking, the more calories the food has, the more it contributes to weight gain. And then, to make it really simple, we broke all of the higher calorie foods into what we call the 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s. These happen to be the most popular foods in America, the top sources of calories in the American diet, the highest calorie foods. And then we have the 4s, 5s, and 6s, which has some healthy foods in there, actually many in there, but they do have more calories than the lowest calorie foods, the 1s, 2s, and 3s. So really, largely, the whole program in phase 1, you shift your food choices from what most of America is eating down to phase 1 being in the box, all 1s, 2s, and 3s. And then in phase 2, you're building skills with the 4s, 5s, and 6s while keeping up the 1s, 2s, and 3s, because there's nothing like the 1s, 2s, and 3s to help you manage your calories. So that's just a quick rundown of the HMR Calorie Guide. I would just say one thing. We don't have to belabor it, Nance, but don't make the mistake of thinking that, the 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s are a problem just because they have more calories per bite, per ounce, per cup than the 4s, 5s, and 6s or the 1s, 2s, and 3s. There's another issue. Not only do they have more calories per bite, these foods, the very nature of them, the characteristics they have, they're harder to stop eating once you start. So there's almost a double whammy effect. More calories per bite, but harder to stop taking more bites. And then Nancy, if you could just comment, you always make this point, and it resonates with me so much. I'm wondering if this resonates with our people who are listening. It's not just that you're sitting there saying, I can't stop eating them, and you're like some sort of removed, unemotional experience. So what would you say it goes along with the fact that you can't stop eating them?
Yeah, I find it to be extremely stressful. Just having them in the house, I feel like I'm totally stressed. Let's say they're in there and I'm trying not to eat them. I don't know about you, but my brain, some part of my brain focuses on those cookies or the cake or whatever it is. I can be in the attic. I can be in the cellar. I can be outside. And a part of me is there's a magnet calling me to those cookies. And it's stressful until they're gone. And, when my environment is supportive, it's like I'm so much calmer and so much more relaxed. So to me, it's stressful. But I do want to add in one little point here. We're not saying, never eat a 7 through 10, please.
Right.
That's not what we're saying here.
No.
But what we're saying, again, which you made the point a minute ago, Rick, is the ideal is to be in control of the 7s through 10s you're eating, that you're picking when you're going to eat them and how much of them you're going to eat them, and you're in control of that as opposed to them controlling you, which
that's right.
is what we're talking about.
Huge point. You not while you're losing weight in phase 1, but we're practical at HMR. You are going to be able to enjoy some of your favorite foods, just not as often or as maybe as in the amounts that you used to. But we're going to have cake on our birthday, right, Nance? And we do all this work on our health habits so we can enjoy some treats when the time comes. By the way, getting some nice comments here. Thank you for all the acknowledgments about throwing out those cookies. Really great. All right, so let's now talk. Let's really laser the focus down. So we've just talked about this double whammy effect here. More calories per ounce, and they're more addictive, if you will. I'm not using that in a technical sense, putting quotes around it. They're more addictive. It's harder to stop eating them. Well, there's some interesting research that we've promised to share with you on this. A study of almost 400 people where they were given all sorts of tests and surveys to determine what were the most difficult foods to stop eating once you've started. So this is a big survey, a very interesting survey, and we're now going to ask all of you to really think about this. I'm about to show you the top 12 most addictive foods, and we're going to ask you to place your bet. What's the food that tops the list? What is the most addicting food? As reported, general consensus among a study of 400 people. So I'm going to give you 15 seconds to put your money where your mouth is. Post it right now. What do you think top the list of the 12 most addictive foods in this research study? Okay.
Seen the cheese.
Cheese.
Oreos.
Oh, tough. Oreos are.
There's one of Rick's.
Yeah.
Definite. You hit yours, Rick.
The Oreo. Another Oreos.
Another Oreo.
Great, Carol.
And we've got two
Chips.
chips. 3 chips.
Yes.
3 chips in a row. Ice cream. Oh, I like that one, Elizabeth.
Chips.
Another chips. Nobody can eat just one.
Ice cream.
We got a pizza and burgers. Another pizza. Another chips. Chips is winning out at the moment. Pizza. That's 3 pizzas.
Yep, good.
Ice cream. That's 2 ice creams.
Candy. Shane's
chips,
got candy.
Salty, crunchy. Potato chips. I think the chips are on. Pizza. We call chips, cookies, and nuts. Allison's got them all in there.
Well,
Pizza.
Allison's really hedging her bets.
Chips, ice cream.
All right. So, boy, there seems to be a real theme here.
Chips tends to be.
I think chips.
Popcorn,
I saw ice cream.
Chips is probably the most.
Yeah, I think chips.
Spoken about.
I think chips probably tops it. Okay,
I mean,
interesting.
yeah.
Well, that was our little informal survey. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the number one most addictive food, as reported by this study, was, several of you got it. And if you said chips, you were wrong. It was pizza, number one, topping the list. Several of you did get it, so I think congratulations are in order. I'm not exactly sure how to acknowledge that. So here's our list. You ready? Number one was pizza. Number 2 was chocolate. Well, that is kind of tough.
We had a few people mention that. Yep.
Chips. Well, you chip folks, you're in the top 3, so you should feel very good about yourselves. Cookies, ice cream,
cookies and ice cream,
French fries, cheeseburger, regular soda. I would never have thought that would be on there. Cake. Why cake? Cake is. I'm surprised cake isn't higher, to be honest. Cheese. I'm shocked that cheese isn't higher. Bacon and fried
there's
chicken.
There's only so much room up top, Rick.
Yeah, well, that's true. You'd have to bump off one of the tops.
Jeez, you got all these. It's almost like they're fighting up there.
So. Here's a big, and actually a serious point. It actually doesn't really matter the rank ordering. What do they all have in common? Look at where they are on the calorie page. It's the point that Nancy and I have made twice here. There's the double whammy effect to these foods. Not only do they have far more calories per bite than the foods that we work with you to eat more of in the program, but it's harder to stop eating them, and this study just shows they're all 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s. Now, Nance, just to put a final punctuation point on this, there was a second study which looked at the same thing. What are the most addictive foods? What are the foods that are most difficult to stop eating? And when you read how they ask these questions, it's hilarious, Nancy. It's like, which ones are most emotionally difficult? And they get into it, really, in terms of getting people to explain it. So I'm going to give you another list of 12. You ready? Topping the list here is chocolate, followed by ice cream. This is 120 people in this study, as opposed to the 398 in the other. Cookies, chips. Well, chips dropped. I'm kind of surprised at that.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah. And Laurie obviously was in on our development meetings. She just said they're all 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s. So I'll just repeat.
I like Shane's comment here. You just read my previous diet.
Yeah. Well, you're not. That's not unusual, and that's not surprising, Shane, because as we say, whenever you look at the top sources of calories in the American diet, that's where America eats. America lives on the right side of the calorie guide. It's just none of this is surprising, but I do think this little spin here around, because we're now going to start talking about what do you do about these foods if they're in the environment. We really wanted to hammer this point. It's not just the calories. It's the fact that they're harder to stop eating once you start, and then Nancy's point, and how that makes you feel. I didn't think I was going to have 8 cookies or the whole sleeve of Oreos. Yeah, in the moment it tastes great, but how do you feel right after it? We all feel the same. We beat ourselves up about this. So let's now personalize this a little bit more, Nance. And I'm going to ask all of you to think hard on this. If you were to pick one food yourself, what is the single hardest food for you to stop eating once you've started? Just think about it for a moment. You can post it if you want, but you don't have to, because we really wanted to follow this up with a very important question, but we do want you to at least have it in your mind. Saw walnuts there. Is it cheese? Is it the chips? Whatever it may be, the key question now, hopefully you've got it in your mind, is it in your house? Is the food that you have the most difficulty pushing away from the table when it's there, stop eating it, is it in your house? Is this something that you are facing a showdown with? OK Corral type showdown every night? Or, Nancy, I love your point, up in the attic and you're thinking, oh, those cookies that my husband brought in the house, they're here, the chips, and they're like calling your name. And the tough part of this is the longer you go without eating them, the louder they can often call your name.
Yeah.
So that's the two-part.
And let's just, hey, Rick, let's just say, all right, so maybe even if you don't have that in your house, but there's something else that you're finding yourself eating,
right,
or wanting to eat. I mean, so it doesn't have to be the hardest one for you if you happen to have something
that's a good
else
point.
In the house that's
anything that's tempting
you hard.
With all of this time that we're all spending in our houses, I mean, it's unprecedented. Is there a food that's calling you? Is there one that you're negotiating with yourself on and you find yourself going back to it? And there are calories you didn't plan for. There are calories that maybe you didn't want. And now there are calories that you have to deal with working off. If that's the case, what is there to do about that? It's the question I asked about my cookies last week. So I think this is the last time I'll ask this, Nance, but I'd like to engage the Mind Trust here, the HMR community, in all of your problem-solving glory. What advice would you give about foods that are tempting and that are becoming a problem that are in someone's house? And I would just say you can go all out like you did last week with me and say, get rid of it, which is fine. We'd like to see that in the posts. But you can also be more nuanced about this. The realities are sometimes the cookies are there and, they are for the kids. You're eating them, but they are for the kids. So there are gradations of environmental control that you can practice. There's the all-out black and white, get rid of it, throw it out, give it away. But then there are other strategies that can help reduce your exposure to those foods. So let's get some successful strategies here. And then the question will be, for if you're struggling with high-calorie foods, is there anything that you've heard here from the community and the solutions presented that you should employ this week around those foods that are inconsistent with what you're trying to do with your weight and your health? Okay, let's.
We've had some people who say that they know there's certain food that they just don't buy it anymore. We've got a Rosemary who cleaned out her pantry and sent it to her daughter for the kids.
Yep, good, Rosemary, good, great.
There's a couple people that have food in the house, so it'd be interesting to see what you do, because it sounds like that has to be there for other people. So what do you do? What helps you not get into it?
Yeah, so Shane, I want to know, I have my Friday night pizza thing that has me not eating 7 slices. What do you do? Do you avoid it entirely? Or do you make sure you have a certain number of veggies with it, which helps you to reduce how much pizza? Do you have another alternative entirely that makes you feel not deprived when everyone else is eating pizza? Shane, I would love to hear that.
Yeah, be more specific.
If you put a little bit more to that.
We heard Marla says she hides them, so that'd be interesting to see where you hide them.
Yeah.
Kirsten asks her family to hide them from her so that she doesn't know where they are.
Good.
But I'm obsessed with finding them. That's funny.
Yep. So Shane
if I
just
get something for my son, I ask him to keep snacks in his room, not in the
good.
So in the room, I keep her stuff on. We have a double door fridge. I keep her stuff on the side I don't use, except when I cook for her. That helps a lot.
Just responding to the pizza questions. Shane's real clear. He knows it's a trigger. He knows that if he starts, it's going to not turn out the way he wants. And so, huge strategy. Love this. He eats before the pizza gets there. Boy, what a great strategy that is. If you're going to anytime you're going into the lion's den, boy, arm yourself by being full and satisfied.
Yes.
You're a different person if you do that when the temptation arrives. Yeah, that's really, really great.
Oh, here's another one. Jen says, I have all of my food in my cupboard. And that's the only cupboard I go into. That's a really great strategy, especially for anybody in phase 1.
Yeah. Nance, I feel like we need to just these strategies, just in case anyone's hearing these, like your own cupboard, or I have the kids hide them. If any of these seem like, I don't want to say silly strategies, but I shouldn't have to do that, or I shouldn't have to ask my kids to do that. I think we all need to just have a dose of reality-based thinking about how we all are, how human beings are around tempting, tasty food. It is normal to want to eat good tasting food. And if it's some of your favorite tempting food, it's really normal to want to eat it, and to want to eat it till you're full. And then even after you're full, to want to eat a little bit more just because you really like that food. This is normal behavior. So don't discount the value of little environmental control strategies like your own cupboard, so that you're not reaching past that thing and having that conversation with that tempting food every time you're trying to get to your food. Freezing the food. It makes a difference to wrap tempting food in tinfoil as opposed to being able to see it in saran wrap, that way you can actually see the food, or opaque jars as opposed to see-through jars. These things all make a difference. Little ways where you don't have to take a little hit on your willpower and on your resolve because you were smart about it, by just reducing your exposure to these foods. So I just wanted to make sure that people were like, these might seem like small little strategies, but they actually can have a very powerful payoff if you put them together around tempting foods.
Perfect. All right, so I think we should go to the other side now, because we're getting...
Yes. We're going to finish in 5 minutes here. We're committed to doing this in less than an hour. Thank you all for staying here. So eliminating or reducing your exposure to tempting foods, that's essential. So now let's move past that. That will help you to make healthy choices. But an absolute and critical other aspect of controlling your environment is having the healthy, low-calorie foods that you enjoy available and in abundance. You want to have foods that allow you freedom, that don't stress you out, that you can actually feel more in control of when you're incorporating them into your meals, or when they comprise all of your meals. So Nancy and I decided to just keep this really simple. We're going to boil it down to the 2 categories that you're all very familiar with. If you are in weight loss and you're on the decision-free plan, the first category, of course, is HMR foods. And, I don't worry about sounding salesy here. I eat these all the time. Nancy does too. We all do at HMR. And there is a sense of freedom in these. You actually can say more is better. The most counterintuitive diet advice that's ever graced our culture is what we tell people, what we tell you. More is better. So that's one area to make sure during these tumultuous times with the virus. Are you keeping up the meal replacements? That's the question. So if you're in healthy solutions, though, we would add the fruits and vegetables to them. And if you're in phase 2, same thing. So let's look at these foods where more is better. You shouldn't have any decision anxiety about these. We're trying to keep things simple during a crazy time in our culture. What is there for you to do this week about these foods? We already talked about reducing exposure to the tempting high-calorie foods that can really set you back, but you got to fill the gap with something else. Start here. Doesn't mean that this is it, right, Nance, if you're in phase 2?
Right. it doesn't mean this is it, but these are foods you can absolutely say yes to
Yeah.
all the time without any guilt, feeling good, they're healthy, and that's not depriving. It's a feeling of abundance.
Yeah, so this doesn't mean that you're not. Shane, I'm thinking of the fabulous meals that we show each other, and your salmon dishes, and just the creative ways you use the fish and the lean proteins and whatnot. We're not discounting that, but we're trying to appeal to everyone here. And during these times, especially, these are behaviors that you don't want to drop out. The fruits and vegetables are a forever behavior for weight management, for health management. And the meal replacements just help you be full and don't take a lot of mental energy to prepare them. So let's talk about where the rubber meets the road here, Nancy. I've just put up the slide for planning for this week. You guys have all taken the time out of your night. We thank you for that. Let's really bring it home. What is something that either from this discussion or using this time as a platform for setting a goal that has you going outside your comfort zone this week? Is it a high fruit and veggie day? Is it bringing shakes in more consistently? You decide. Maybe it's exercise. We spent a lot of time talking about the exercise. What's something that you can commit to, and you might even go all out like I did last week with the Linzer cookies and go for public accountability through the comments section here. What's something you can commit to? And then don't just leave it as an idea or a promise. What are some specific steps? Write them down. That if you do them, it's going to increase the chances of you accomplishing whatever goal you set for yourself. So think about that right now. This is the last few minutes of our time. Take a little time to think, what could I do that would have me pushing into my stretch zone? More action, which, remember what we said, leads to more motivation, and that leads to more action. But it doesn't happen unless you're pushing yourself first. So what could you push on? What could you set a goal around?
Perfect. And if if it's the food end you're struggling with, then the high day with meal replacements, more vegetable fruits would be. It's amazing what a difference that can make.
Absolutely.
If you're one of the ones that are struggling with physical activity, and whether you're tired or can't find the time, then figure it out. Find a time that you are going to do PA. I would even push you. Can you do some after Facebook before you go to bed tonight? Even get in 5 minutes.
Right.
So you get off the couch, or and I don't mean that as an insult at all, but you get up and you get walking so that when you get up in the morning, you've already gotten some physical activity, and that could be just the perfect, simple goal.
And in case anyone is sort of not landing on a particular goal, I make this particular plan every single week. We use this a lot in the program. It's our BSLSDS structure. Pick a day and plan out breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack. Use the foods that we just showed there that you should have no decision anxiety about. Doesn't mean you can't eat other things as well if you're in phase 2. If you're in phase 1, you're talking about sticking strictly to those foods. Breakfast snack, lunch snack, dinner snack. You may not necessarily need to eat something at every one of those, but it's good. It's a good format, a good structure to sort of force you to think about your day in a much more precise and actually effective way when it comes to planning in your food, as opposed to having the foods around you sort of make their way into your diet.
So we're getting some plans already here, Rick, which is great. And Lori, I just want to say the HMR bars are fine to use in phase 1. As a more is better tool. They don't replace a shake or an entree, but they're in the box.
Yep. Elizabeth, adding more shakes and logging everything. I'll tell you this, Nancy, if I want to get back on track, shakes, HMR shakes are my go-to. They are my go-to. And I love Sherry. Here's Sherry, so I'm quite limited physically, but I hereby commit to playing Wii tennis on my Fitball 3 times this week. So what I would ask you, Sherry, is to identify when that first time will be. Right.
So, you don't just leave it there like, well, all right, so when's the first time you're going to do it?
Yep. Anyone taking on a high day with breakfast snack, lunch snack, dinner snack? I'm curious. That is, to me, the high day is that drives my success for the week. I plan a high day earlier in the week, and it just gets that truck going down the highway in the direction that I want it to go in.
We call that strong start, getting a strong start.
Yep. All right. I want to honor our time that we said, Nancy.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
if you haven't had a time to really think it through, take another minute or two. This is maybe your only time in the week to do this. Take some time. Document what you're planning to do. Some of you have taken on the added accountability of stating it here in the forum. Let's hear about it next week. How did the week go? I hope that you feel that we got the job done tonight. Nance, I loved having you with me here. Thank you so much.
I love being here.
Yeah, it was really great. Be safe and stay in action with your health habits. That sort of was a theme here. Please join us next Thursday, same time, same place. Everything will be the same. I would also ask you to consider joining me on Monday night. Now, this was a pretty targeted conversation that we just had, and you can expect those every Thursday night with these live events. But Sandy and I are going to do a live Facebook Live where we're going to take a look at the lighter side of things. Kind of alluded to this already earlier, but there are some unexpected positives that are emerging from this crisis that we're all dealing with. And we really want to completely focus on some of the silver linings, if you will. We're going to call it our silver linings episode. So we're going to do that Monday night, same time as this one, 7 o'clock Eastern time, Monday night. I'll be in my kitchen. Sandy will be joining me. We've been noticing silver linings. It's kind of funny when we realized we were going to do this episode, all of a sudden you start to notice them more. So if you're going to join us on Monday night, put your silver lining filter on as you go through your life, and I guarantee you're going to have some things to share about some positives that have actually emerged from this difficult time that we're all in. So we hope that you can join us there. And with that, Nance, do you have any final words? And then we'll sign off.
No, just a pleasure. I hope you all have a great and safe week, and hopefully you'll be able to return with us next week.
Yeah, hope to see you, and hope to see you on Monday night as well. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Take care. Be safe.
Bye, everybody.